Hi, welcome to the B2 course and welcome to lesson 8. This is the second of our grammar focus lessons on the present perfect tense. So, my name is Stephanie and I will be covering this topic with you at a level B2, which is upper intermediate, and this is lesson 8 of our course. Thank you for joining me. In our lesson today, you will practice using for and since, and you will compare and contrast the present perfect simple with present perfect continuous. So, if you're watching this lesson, hopefully you also tuned in for lesson 6, which was our first look at the present perfect tense. And in that slides, we looked at the form, we looked at the use, and we contrasted with the past simple. So, that really is the introduction to the present perfect. This slide, we're pushing it a bit further. Remember, at this level, upper intermediate, you are trying to make your English more accurate. So it's very important to focus on tenses such as present perfect. Okay, let's have a look to begin with what's the difference. So what's the difference between a present perfect simple tense and a present perfect continuous tense? I'm going to show you two sentences. Pause the video and have a think. Do you know what the difference is? So, first sentence, I have been reading for 3 hours. And the second sentence, I have read 100 pages so far. What do you think? Firstly, do you know which one is the continuous tense? Correct. Okay, hopefully you will all say the first one because with the ing you can see it's a continuous tense. I have been reading. What's the difference? I have been reading for 3 hours and I have read 100 pages so far. If you think you know, just make a note of why and we will find out together. Okay. So let's start with the form. How do we make a present perfect continuous tense? Well, we use have or has, depending on if it's the subject. So if it's a third person, you need has, plus been, plus an ing verb. So I've given you an example here. I have been waiting. You have been waiting. He, she, or it has been waiting. We have been waiting. And they have been waiting. So it's the same. It just depends on whether you have a third person, in which case you need has. But the rest would be the same, been and an ing verb. Just be careful if it's the first person, the second person, the third person, as to which form of the verb have you need to use. Okay. So an example of a positive present perfect continuous. I have been waiting. She has been waiting. Negative. I haven't been waiting. She hasn't been waiting. And the question, have you been waiting? Has she been waiting? So have a look then, make sure you've understood the the positive, the negative, and the question form of this tense. Okay, so now we're going to practice. I'm giving you 10 sentences, and all I want you to do is to put it in a positive, a negative, or a question form of the present perfect continuous. If you're not sure, remember you can refer back to the slide on form. Let's have a look at the 10 sentences. Number 1, long. Number 2, I'm hot because. Number 3, James, well recently. Number 4, I think that someone, my computer. Number 5, how long? English. Number 6, she, on time this week. Number 7, I'm tired because overtime. Number 8, where have you been? For you. Number 9, wake up. All day. And number 10, his homework every night. So pause the video and see if you can correctly, using the verbs and the subject that I give you, make a positive, a negative, or question form of the present perfect tense. Okay, hopefully you've made a note of your answers, so let's check them together. Number 1, have you been waiting long? Number 2, I'm hot because I have been running. Number 3, James hasn't been feeling well recently. Number 4, I think that someone has been using my computer. Number 5, how long have you been studying English? Number 6, she hasn't been arriving on time this week. Number 7, I'm tired because I have been working overtime. Number 8, where have you been? I've been looking for you. Number 9, wake up, you've been sleeping all day. And number 10, has he been doing his homework every night? How did you do? Well done if you got them all correct. If you didn't, have a look and see if you can find out why. It's just as important to understand why you made the mistake, why there was an error, because if you understand, then you won't make the same mistake next time. So if you have made a mistake, go back and review the form slides, review the positive, negative, and question, and think about why you made the mistake. Well done, everybody. Okay, now we're going to think about the use. When do we use the present perfect continuous instead of the simple form? Okay, so the first one, when an action started in the past and continues in the present. I have been working on this report since 6:30 a.m. So here, I have been working, you're emphasising that it started in the past, but it's still ongoing now and it's not finished. You're still working on the report. Number 2, I have been reading this book for more than a week. Again, you started the book in the past, but you've been reading and the reading continues now. And number 3, I have been thinking about moving house. Again, the thinking started in the past, but it's a continuous process that's carrying on now, so it's not finished yet. Okay. Secondly, when an action has recently or only just stopped and there is a connection with now. I'm really stressed. I have been working too much. Why are you out of breath? Have you been running? You're covered in paint. Yes, I have been painting the walls. So in each of these situations, the action is a recent action, the working too hard, the running, the painting the walls. It's a recent action that's only just stopped. Thirdly, for actions repeated over a period of time. I have been trying to call you all morning. I have been playing tennis since I was 7. I have been photocopying this report for an hour. So again, it's a repeated action. I have been trying to call you. I call you again, again, again. It's a repeated action, so you need a continuous tense. Okay, so I think it's useful in order to clarify this, to compare the two tenses, to compare a present perfect simple and to compare the present perfect continuous. Now, do you remember at the beginning of the lesson, I asked you the question of what's the difference, and I gave you two statements, about reading. Well, let's have a look. So you use present perfect simple when you are interested in the result, and you use present perfect continuous when you are interested in the action. Let's compare. I have read 50 pages so far. This describes the result. The result is that 50 pages are finished. So you use present perfect simple. But if I want to emphasize the action, present perfect continuous. I have been reading for 3 hours. It emphasizes the duration, the action of reading for 3 hours. So it depends if you're focusing on the result or the action. Also, use present perfect simple to say how much or how many times. But use present perfect continuous to say how long. So present perfect simple, I have written 10 emails so far. So here you can see I'm talking about how many. I've written 10 emails so far. But present perfect continuous, I have been writing emails all morning. Here I'm emphasizing how long. I've been writing all morning. So again, that's an important difference. Okay, let's practice as always. I'm going to give you some sentences, and in each pair, one is correct. What I want you to do is to tell me which one is correct and why. Let's have a look together. A. I have read for 2 hours. B. I have been reading for 2 hours. C. I have learnt English since I was 4. D. I have been learning English since I was 4. E. Your hair is wet. Have you swum? F. Your hair is wet. Have you been swimming? Pause the video and see if you can tell me which one is correct, and importantly, think about why. Okay. Have you done them? Okay, let's check through the answers together then. So the correct answer is B. I have been reading for 2 hours. Why? Because you're talking about how long. D is correct. I have been learning English since I was 4. An action that started in the past and continues now. And F is correct. Your hair is wet. Have you been swimming? Because it's something that has only just finished. The person's hair is still wet, so the action of swimming must just have finished. So you need a present perfect continuous. Did you get those correct? Well done if you did. If you didn't, go back and have a review of the slides before and see if you can understand why. Okay, the next part of the lesson, we are going to focus on 2 really important words that we need to use when we use present perfect simple or present perfect continuous, and they are for and since. So I'm sure you're using these words a lot, but are you using them correctly? And do you understand why you need to use for and why you need to use since? What's the difference between these 2 words? Do you know? Let's find out together. Okay. So for is used to describe a period of time, And since is used to describe the start of a period. So let's compare some sentences and you'll get the idea of what I mean. I've known him for 7 years, the period of time. I've known him since 2010, the start. I've been waiting for 2 hours, period of time. I've been waiting since 9 a.m. This was the start. I've been working on this for 1 week, the period. I've been working on this since last Tuesday. This is when it started. So this is a really important difference. For is always going to emphasize the period of time, the amount of time. And since is going to say when it started. Don't worry, there are some signal words that will help you. Now, if you watch lesson 6, we talked a little bit about signal words in lesson 6. And I explained that these are key words that when you see them, they give you a clue as to what you need to use. It's the same with for and since. So let's have a look at some of the signal words that we need with for. So 1 hour, a long time, a week, a fortnight. Do you know what a fortnight means? A fortnight means 2 weeks. 40 minutes, 2 months, ages, 5 days, 25 years, and years. So with any of these kinds of examples, you need to use for because you're describing the period for 30 minutes, for 2 weeks, for a long time, for 20 days, for 10 years. You're describing a period of time and you'll always use for when you do this. Okay. Since March, breakfast, Tuesday, 9 o'clock, 9th of October, Christmas, I arrived, 2015. So you can see that since you're specifying a particular start, time or date, so it's quite specific, the 9th of October, 10 a.m., Wednesday. You're giving a very specific start point, and when you do that, you need to use since. Is it clear? Let's find out together. I'm going to ask you to complete the gaps in 10 statements. You have a 50-50 chance because it's either for or since. Look at the sentences, look for the signal words, and think about if you're talking a period of time or if you're talking about a specific start. Let's have a look together. I've lived here 2000. We haven't seen him Christmas. I've been working in marketing for years now. I've been working on this project ages. I haven't heard from Mr. Blythe Monday. You've been studying 5 hours. Take a break. They've bought 2 cars last year. Nobody has registered me. I arrived. We're going on holiday a fortnight. I've been exercising 40 minutes. Remember, there's only 2 options. It's either for or since. Have a look, pause the slide, and then we can check our answers together. Have you finished? Okay, remember it's useful to make a note of your answers and to highlight any that you don't get correct, and then you can try it again. Remember, there is also the option to take a mini test at the end of the lesson to see if you can remember what we've covered. Hopefully you will. Anyway, let's have a look at the answers together. Number 1. I've lived here since 2000. 2. We haven't seen him since Christmas. 3. I've been working in marketing for 4 years now. 4. I've been working on this project for ages. 5. I haven't heard from Mr. Blythe since Monday. 6. You've been studying for 5 hours. Take a break. 7. They've bought 2 cars since last year. 8. Nobody has registered me since I arrived. 9. We're going on holiday for a fortnight. And 10. I've been exercising for 40 minutes. How did you get on? Really, really well done if you got lots of those correct. Hopefully, it's clearer now, the distinction between for and since. And they are really important words that you need to use when you're using present perfect simple or present perfect continuous. Okay, before we finish our lesson today, there's one last slide that I'd like to show you, just an important point to remember. Okay, so just to remember that there are some verbs that normally we cannot ing in a continuous tense. So we've been talking about present perfect continuous today, and we've been using verbs in the ing, the continuous form, but there are some verbs in English that normally we cannot use in a continuous form. And I've given you an example of some here. Verbs like, want, need, prefer, know, realise, suppose, mean, understand, believe, belong, contain, consist, seem, hate, and love. Normally, you will not use these verbs. You won't see these verbs being used in a continuous tense, and that also applies to the present perfect tense. Okay, so that's the end of our lesson today. That's the end of the second lesson on the present perfect tense. Remember that in lesson 10, there will be a review lesson where you'll have the opportunity to practice some of the things we've looked at in these 2 lessons. I hope you've enjoyed it. And most importantly, I hope you feel that the present perfect is easier and much clearer for you now. Our next lesson, lesson 9, will be a vocabulary lesson. Remember, we always alternate grammar, vocabulary, grammar, vocabulary. Lesson 9 will be a vocabulary lesson. And please have a look at the B2 syllabus to find out more about the topic. You'll be able to find out more information about what we will cover. So a big thank you for watching this lesson. That's lesson 8. And I hope to see you next time. Goodbye.